Yeah, let's come on over. If we can ask Courtney's family come on this side.
Courtney, your family, come over this side. Courtney, you can stand right here, Courtney.
That's right. Okay, guys. You want to stand on that end of the Okay, you're fine. Okay, we got it here.
Associate pastor.
So we need somebody on that side, on that side. Yeah, if it's got to stand on that side, so we can balance it out. Okay. Yes, sir.
And so, God, we thank you for this new day of brand new grace and mercy. God, we thank you for this great occasion, God, this great gathering, God, that will speak to the injustices going on in our city as well as our nation. God, I ask right now that you would be with Attorney Crump, God, and these families, God, as we take steps, God, to reveal truth and justices in the situations, God, that keep reoccurring and taking the lives of our young black men and women. God, as we lift this time up to you, God, I just ask that you provide them with strength and courage as we take another step at bringing about a new justice and a new day. God, we thank you, we love you, we honor you, we adore you. It's in Jesus' name that we pray. Amen. I now turn it over to Attorney Crump.
Thank you so much, Reverend Watson. It is a heavy heart that we're here today with the family of Javion Hudspeth, as well as the family of Courtney Ross, two unarmed young black men who both died in police custody. And we're going to talk about Javion first, and you'll hear from his family, and then we'll talk about Courtney and hear from his family, who is in the exact situation that Charlotte and the rest of the family members of Jarveon were in 60 days ago. And that is demanding transparency. They just want to see and find out what happened to their children. Javion was 21 years old, college student, working, no criminal history, had his whole life ahead of him. Courtney was 19 years old, had mental health challenges, no criminal history, his whole life ahead of him. But yet, both of them were killed by the people who were supposed to protect and serve them. How does this keep happening in Memphis, Tennessee, Shelby County, Tennessee? How does this keep happening? Unarmed black men have interactions with police and they end up dead, while young black men continuing to be sentenced to death just from mere traffic stops.
Right.
We all can never forget the horrific video of Tyree Nichols, young black men in Memphis, Tennessee, having mere traffic stops, and they end up dead. Present with me is Jarveon Hudspeth's family, his mother, Charlotte, father, Robert, his sister, Sinquil, and his godbrother, Martavius. We also have a great lawyer who became a judge and is one of my mentors and sheroes, Judge Ernestine Doyce is with us, and also my co-counsel is Bryce Timmons. Attorney Craig Edgerton is also here with us. From Courtney Ross's family is his father, Courtney Allen, and his mother, Scarlett Ross. And you will hear from them also, and they have a host of uncles, aunts, grandma, cousin, because they're just starting to face what Javion's family had to face in the demand for transparency, what Tyree Nichols' parents, Rovine and Rodney, had to face in the demand for transparency. And so, let's be clear. When we were here about a month ago, Charlotte, and you can step up. Robert, yeah, I can step up. When we're here about a month ago demanding transparency, we were accused of political gamesmanship. There could be nothing further from the truth. What we were here for is to fight and demand for transparency. So this broken-hearted mother could know the truth of what happened to her child, and they can try to get answers. Is that so much to ask for? If this was your son, who you know was a good kid, who had never been arrested, had never been in trouble with the law, who, was missing for almost 2 days before you finally was told that your son was dead and he was shot by the police. That's what she knew. It's not political gamesmanship when you're just trying to say, we need to know what happened. I mean, it's a shame when you start trying to make it about politics other than about the pursuit of truth and justice. That's what black people are asking for. We're not trying to play politics. No, we want the truth of why our children keep dying when they have interactions with police. And Judge Doyce, our concerns were made true when we all have witnessed this video now. And it's a concern of trust. We can't trust the police narrative.
That's right.
Because what did the police tell us? And you're going to hear directly from Charlotte, who was troubled by this. What was the narrative from the sheriff's department? That the officer was dragged by Jarveon. And this is important. We have to frame the issue. Everybody needs to look at the dash cam video. This officer was not dragged.
That's right.
This officer jumped into the car. I mean, he jumped into the police car. I got calls from several law enforcement officers saying, Attorney Crump, it defies common sense why he would jump into the police car. It contradicts his police training, but they said, even that, it's just common sense. Why would you jump with both feet into a police car, a car that's driving away? Why would this officer jump in with both feet? That has to boggle the mind. I don't know how you try to justify this, It makes no sense to anybody who sees this video. So frame the issue. Look at the big picture of that car pulling away, and you see him jump with both feet into the car. And obviously, it's not lost on us the racial dynamics. We just don't believe if this was a young white motorist who he pulled over for a traffic stop, that he would have jumped into the car and ended up shooting him in the lungs and the heart. We just don't believe that would happen. There are way too many videos out there where they treat white citizens completely different. And so you ask yourself that question, and the video we see obviously Javion is complying. He is letting him go through his pockets and everything. He never put that officer in threat or fear of his life. That officer put himself in threat and peril and harm when he decided to jump into the car. And nobody is saying that Jarveon should have took off, but I'm sorry. He's a young black man living in Memphis, Tennessee, who just witnessed Tyree Nichols be brutally killed when he complied with everything the police said. So I know you all want to try to blame him, but you put yourself in the mind of a young black person in Memphis, Tennessee. And he's saying, we're going to put you in the back of the squad car. What is running through his mind? Kareem, I can only think that the images of Tyree Nichols, just like most black people in Memphis, Judge Doris, must have flashed in Javion's mind.
That's right.
When the police are telling you, I'm going to put you in the back of my police cruiser. Nobody to this day, 60 days later, has been able to tell this broken-hearted mother and this family why was Jarveon stopped in the first place. We've looked at this video now 100 times since it was released. They've never been given an explanation why he was stopped. And so I agree with Miss Charlotte. He was stopped for driving while black.
That's right.
Her son is dead because he was driving while black. I mean, all these things don't add up at all. Him jumping into the car was unnecessary, unjustifiable, and senseless. Just completely senseless. We, Charlotte, Robert, were told that when he ran the license plate and the registration, that it came back clean. So what was the exigent situation to make this 25-year-old white police officer jump into the car? What was the exigent situation? He had the name of Javion, he had the plate and the tag number. It was a routine traffic stop. Why are you gonna risk your life and jump into a car that's speeding away? There is no justification for him jumping into that car. It defies all common sense. And so we are here saying, look at this video. Look at it for yourself. Don't take the police narrative that Charlotte believes from day one was a false narrative. And she's gonna tell you in her own words in just a few minutes here. But look with your eyes and ask yourself, why would this officer jump into this car with both feet? That's what people around America are asking this morning. And Charlotte believes it was a cover-up from the beginning, and she believes they're going to still keep trying to cover up to try to justify them saying her son is dead and she just needs to accept it. Well, her and her family and the activists in this community have said they won't accept it. They won't just let you sweep it under the rug and say, oh, this officer is a hero. What, a hero for killing Javion?
Come on now.
He jumped into a car. A trained police officer jumped into a car with both feet on a routine traffic stop, created a life or death situation, shoots a young 21-year-old black male in his lungs, and the bullet travels through his heart. And we're saying that's good policing? How is that good policing? You can say what you want about us, but we're going to keep fighting and speaking truth to power every chance we get, and we're going to keep demanding justice for Javion. Justice for Javion. Justice for Javion.
Justice for Jarveon.
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 And so you're going to hear from his mother and their family. And then before we take your questions, you're going to hear from the family of Courtney Ross and their demand for transparency. And as they're telling you about Courtney, I want you all to think about what Charlotte was saying 60 days ago about the denial of transparency and how, because they won't tell her nothing, she believes that they're not being truthful with her. They're not telling her the truth about how her son was killed by the police. And when you think about Javion, how can Courtney Ross' family take it with a leap of faith that the police are being truthful? I mean, Tyree Nichols, Javion Hudspeth, how can they now say, oh, we're just going to take your word for it? Let that marinate in your mind as you hear from them say, we need to see the video, Memphis police. And Shelby County Sheriff's Department, after witnessing what happened with Tyree Nichols, why did it take so long to release this video?
That's right. That's right.
Charlotte has some thoughts, but at this point, we're going to hear from Charlotte. Y'all understand, she's still a broken-hearted mother, but she's doing the best she can. She's not like Judge Dorsey and I was trained advocates in law school. She's a broken-hearted mother who lost her son, her firstborn. Charlotte.
First, I just want to say that the narrative that Chef Barner told the world, the nation, within hours of my son's passing, that the officer was drugged, the deputy was being drugged. And the whole world saw that and they heard that, And they took that and they ran with it. And from every article you saw, when anyone asked about it, an officer was drugged 1,000, 100 feet. And everyone was just the way that Chef Barner spoke about it, already had it in their mind that my son was a criminal and that he should be dead. Chef Barner, the narrative of that officer being drugged, and from what I saw and my family saw about a week ago, that officer voluntarily jumped into the vehicle. He wasn't in fear of his life.
No.
That's right.
Anybody that was in fear of their life would have called for backup.
That's right.
Exactly.
So for them to say that, I wear my son's body around my neck today. And nobody should have to do that. To wear my son's cremated ashes around my neck this morning. I want justice for my son. My son was murdered. He wasn't killed, he was murdered by a deputy. That deputy, he's hurt, but he's living. He's living. My son was murdered. That's the narrative that I want you guys to see. When you see that video and you see my son leaving, my son was trying to get home. He was 7 steps from home, and he was trying to get home because I could protect him, even if I was coming outside to watch or help him. That was my son. That was my baby. Today is Friday. He should be at home. He shouldn't be around my neck dead today. And that's what I wanted. I want the world to know my son was not a criminal. He was murdered by a deputy. And I want justice for him.
And at the beginning, what did they tell you?
The sheriff department, the DA office, we were in the DA office watching the video. While the officer was behind my son in the car, I said, so what is he doing? She said he's running his plates. 2 days my son was missing. No one called me. I called the sheriff department. They told me they could identify my son. That was the reason no one reached out to me about his missing or his death. Again, they told me he was in an accident. That was the reason why he was killed. He was in an accident and he died. They never, not one time, told me that he was shot by a deputy and died. So it's a cover-up, and I feel that they're still trying to cover it up. They're still trying to make sure that this officer gets off scot-free, and that's not going to happen. I'm going to take my last breath to make sure that Jarveon gets justice, no matter what it takes.
Thank you. Thank you, Charlotte. Thank you. Thank you for speaking truth to power. At this time, you're going to hear from the father and mother of Courtney at Ross. We have, okay. And it is, you're going to hear from his father, Courtney Allen, and his mother, Scarlett Pickens. And you're hearing from them for the first time to talk and tell you about who their 19-year-old son, Courtney Ross, was. This is all new for them. This is their first press conference, and it's a shame that just like Tyree Nichols' parents had to be an example for Charlotte, she's not having to be an example for Scarlett and Courtney. It's just so unfair that these black parents have to keep meeting in just utter despair because they're wearing their son's ashes around their neck. It's just a shame before God. And we haven't seen the video. We have nothing about Courtney. We don't even know. They haven't told the family anything. Can you imagine your 19-year-old son being killed and they're saying, well, he died in police custody and there's a pending investigation and you get nothing? Nothing? That's what Courtney and Scarlett are dealing with. So, Courtney, if you and Scarlett can come to the podium and tell them about who your baby was and make sure they know that you all were trying to get him the help that he needed as a person suffering with mental illness. Who wants to go first? You want to speak? Can you speak first, Scott? Just be brief. I'm with you. Be brief. Take your time. Take your time. Thank you so much. Mr. Pickens.
Courtney Ross was, he was funny. He was, if you had a bad day, Courtney was the kid that just made you laugh. He was silly. He loved to eat. He loved to have fun. He loved sports. He liked being with his family. He was smart. He was intelligent. He made honor roll. He was, at one point, the Fogelman Scholar. He was my baby. I want to know what happened. I want to see what happened. My son was intelligent. There is no way he would be eating rat poisoning, or that just doesn't make sense to me. He knew better than that.
Justice for Courtney.
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 Mr. Allen, if you can, we cannot even imagine how hard this is.
It's okay, man. God got us. It's okay. You do. You do.
My son was a good kid. My son, he looked just like his dad. My son is known in that area. My son, he was a hard worker. My son, Courtney, he worked with me. My son has a lot of talents. He reminded me of me so much. It just seems like on that day, I woke up that morning and I went looking for my son. He's a good kid, and you know, kids, they want freedom in the world these days. And I try to limit that and try to, you know, parent that a lot with my son's condition, you know, trying to make him feel normal as possible. You get what I'm saying? And I woke up that morning looking for my son. I went out that morning and I couldn't make it. I circled all around Midtown. I do lawn work in Midtown. My son has contributed to that community. Everyone in that community knows me and my son. We have done a lot of good in Memphis, all over Memphis, all in Midtown. We stayed 1 block from that place. 1 block. My son is familiar with that area. He's not a misfit.
That's right.
He just knows that area. We love that area. He does work in that area. He just a good kid. And for someone to see my son, everyone knows Courtney, he's just a good, well-mounted kid, but he has a little challenges that I had to try to work out with my son, and the police knows my son in that area. We've lived over there. Y'all shouldn't have been able to talk to my son. You shouldn't have been able to run him down and he's dead in your custody. He did not die at no hospital. My son died in your custody, but you all portrayed that to the media, and that wasn't right. We just want to know what happened. We just want to know the truth. That's right. Our love is with Memphis. We love Memphis. We love that community. That's a diverse community. That shouldn't be, he's not a misfit. My son had challenges where he wanted to be a little freedom. You should see my son and just say, he looks like he need a little help. He ran because he was scared. My son does not know no criminal acts. He just needed help that day, you guys. And for the police to be the ones to stumble upon him, no matter what the situation was, he should be still here in our arms today. And I gotta fight forever and live with this forever because my son contributed. He had a lot of talents, you guys. It's sad. It is so sad. It just don't make sense. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. Memphis, we got to do better. We need answers. We need the community. Everyone in this city knows me and my son. We're very positive people. That's not right. That's not right where he just end up dying.
Release the video. Release the video.
Release the video. Release the video.
Release the video.
Release the video.
Release the video.
Release the video.
So before we take your questions, you should know that Courtney was 19 years old.
Had a whole
He
life.
suffered with some mental health challenges. As his father said, the police knew this because this wasn't their first interaction with Courtney and his mental health challenges. But yet, Courtney ends up dead in their custody and in their care, and still no answers. Still no answers. We want to believe after Tyree Nichols that Memphis would be a little more transparent, that America would be a little more transparent. That's why we have all these body cam videos. That's why we have all these dash cam videos, for the very reason when somebody dies in custody of the police, everybody needs to be able to see it. I mean, that's what it's for. If the police didn't do anything wrong, then it exonerates them. That's right. But if it was unjustified, then it needs to be shown. I mean, these are teachable moments, hopefully, to prevent so many young people of color, especially, dying unnecessarily in America. If it's not a teachable moment what happened to Javion, I don't know what is.
That's right.
Hopefully no police officer in America will voluntarily jump into a police car. And I know they're gonna try to spin it. No police officer in America after Jarveon will voluntarily jump into a speeding car. That is the hope. That is the hope. I mean, it makes no sense, and that's a teachable moment for America. Let Javion Hudspeth's tragic death be a teachable moment, but I'm with Charlotte, and there should be justice. There should be justice for Javion.
That's right. Justice for Jarveon.
There should be justice for Javion.
Justice for Jarveon.
Justice for Javion.
Justice for Jarveon. Justice for Jarveon.
And I don't care how they try to spin it, you get to see it for yourself. And you say, there's no reason this 21-year-old college student is dead. Jumping in a speeding car with both feet defies common sense. For a mere traffic stop. It wasn't like he had a APB out for him, that he was some hardened criminal, he was some kingpin. No, he was a young black kid who you stopped for reasons we can only conclude, unless you prove Charlotte wrong, for driving while black. You know, at some point, we just gotta be honest and say that this was an unnecessary, unjustifiable, senseless killing of, yet again, another young black man in Memphis, Tennessee. With that, we'll take your questions. Charlotte, Mr. Courtney, and Ms. Scarlett, if y'all can gather. We'll try to take your questions if you have any.
Attorney's office spoke with Jarveon's family, or you, Attorney Crump, about the reason for the stop, or if Jarveon was already parked in that neighborhood in the first place?
Well, we see the video, the dash cam video, which we think is the most important video that exists. Obviously, the body cam lets us hear audibles, but the dash cam really gives us the full perspective. It allows us to frame the issue. And to answer your question directly, Charlotte, Robert, nobody with the family or our legal team, Craig, nobody has ever been told why he was initially stopped. We know it came back clean. They were told that we know that he was, 7 houses from his home. But as far as the stop, and it does, when you think about Tyree Nichols, how close he was, and now you hear about how Javion was so close to his home, these young black men are just trying to get home. Because they see what happens when young black men encounter the police, and I would imagine, as Charlotte said, Jarveon just believed if he could get home, that he wouldn't end up like Tyree.
You say he was 7 homes away from his home. How long has he lived in that neighborhood?
We've lived in the neighborhood for 5 years. And he
Hold on, come on.
we lived in the neighborhood for about 5 years. And Jarveon, from the dash cam, you can see Jarveon coming out of our subdivision. As he comes out of our subdivision, the deputy speeds up really fast behind him. And any person that I know, if the police is behind you, you're either gonna try to get out of their way if they're speeding like that, or you know they're trying to stop you. But we didn't see any sirens going off in the video that we saw. So we saw Jarveon immediately turn to the left and pull over for him. Again, we don't know why he was stopped. He didn't have any warrants. He didn't have any felonies. And that was his car. So we have no idea why.
And Kareem Ali, my investigator, reminded me that they were told it was never called in.
No.
And you want to elaborate on that, Charlotte?
Yeah. We were told that the officer never called it in, because my thought of when you get stopped for a traffic stop, the officer calls it in, and they call it in to protect themselves and to protect the citizens that they're stopping. But that never happened during the whole altercation. That never happened.
And you know, that harkens back to Tyree Nichols, and while, you know, they kept trying to say why they called the stop in on him. I mean, there are similarities to what law enforcement are doing here in Memphis, Tennessee. Hopefully that answers your question. Yes, ma'am.
You said it took 2 days to find out what happened to your son. Can you elaborate, first of all, on what they told you first and when you found out that your son had been shot?
To answer your question, they never told me anything in the beginning. I saw my son leave. This is his normal routine. We've lived in that neighborhood for 5 years. He gets up, he works every single day. He gets up about 8 o'clock, he goes to his car, he rides around the neighborhood. The neighborhood knows him. You know, it's like a private subdivision. So he goes around the neighborhood. 8 o'clock that morning, I saw him on the Ring doorbell, which I know it was on live TV, so a lot of you guys saw that also. He went to his car, he left about 8:30, 8:45. On the camera, we saw him come out of the subdivision and then get stopped. So that morning, I got up and I called to see where he was, to see if he could drop me off at the airport the day after, on that Sunday. He didn't respond. I reached out to him again a couple hours later. He didn't respond, but he was already gone, and no one reached out to me. So I let the night pass, but knowing my son, he would never, ever stay out. He would always come home if he was out. So my thoughts on that was like, okay, maybe he'll come home in the wee hours of the morning. That never happened. So when I got up the next morning, I called his best friend, Javion, to see, have he heard from him? He said no. So he went to his job at Whole Foods to see, was his car there? It wasn't there. So me and my daughter, we started calling all of the local jails. The sheriff department, which patrols my neighborhood, said they hadn't heard anything. They don't know, no one by his name has been taken in or anything. We called the hospitals. No one had been there. So then Martavia sent me something off Facebook and it showed Jarveon's car on Allendale. So I knew it was his car because of his rims. So we immediately started calling the sheriff department again. The lady told me, okay, so we will send someone to your home to fill out a missing person report. No one never came. We called a couple hours later and we asked again. She said, yes, ma'am, Ms. Haggett, we have the report. We will send someone to do a missing person report. But mind you, my son was already gone the day before. So that was a cover-up. They knew what happened. They ran his license plate. They knew who he was, but no one reached out to me. So again, no one came to my home again to reach out to me, to come talk to me. As of today, 60 days later, no one has came to my home to reach out to me to say anything about Jarveon. So finally someone called and said, your son was in an accident and he passed. He's gone. And that was it. And one thing I do want to say, I know that the articles and the media, they said that my son passed on the way to the hospital. The medical examiner let us know that my son, once he was shot, he passed within minutes before when being shot. So he died right there as soon as he was shot. He didn't die on the way to the hospital. He died within minutes. So that's a cover-up. He didn't die on the way to the hospital. He was already dead before he even left that car. He died in that car by himself in that neighborhood, by himself, while everyone was tending to the officer. My son was dead in that car.
My Lord. And it's, you know, it is always an interesting dynamic when we saw it in Tyree. People went to treat the officers, and the person who has been shot or mortally wounded, they don't seem to really care about it all. And that's why this has to be a teachable moment in America, because I know we've said it over and over again, our lives matter. Yes, ma'am. Do you know anything about it? If not, we won't speculate.
I really don't want to speculate on that, but my son, for all I know, he ran 1 block from Idlewild to Arbondale, and CIT supposed to have been called instead of aggressive police. He's supposed to have medical help with the CIT, so I'm not sure, and I don't want to speculate, but they I don't know. I can't speculate on that, but he died in their custody. And I thought I heard something, you know, maybe he was pulled from Idlewild to Arbondale, but I won't speculate. I just want to see the video, and then I can see it.
We don't need to say no more, just show the video. Release the video. Release the video. Release the video. Are there any other questions? Yes, ma'am. And then we'll let the families go.
I've got 2 questions. First, I want to, thank you. I've got 2 questions. First, I want to extend my condolences to both families, but
Thank
this
you.
one is for Jarveon's family. Now that you've seen that footage, going months with begging and pleading to just see what happened, I don't want to have you relive the moment, but I want to know from you just what were your thoughts seeing your son, who you gave birth to, who you raised? What were your thoughts seeing him in that predicament?
For a long time, for a whole month, I didn't sleep in my bed. I slept on the couch because I wanted to be close to the door just in case he ever came home. I looked at the Ring doorbell from that day for almost 2 months now, just so I can see an image of him leaving home, just so I can kind of see him in the physical. Just seeing that video. My son, my children, we're so close. They're grown, but we're so close. They can call me for anything, and I'm running. 3 o'clock in the morning, I'm running. I don't care. I can fuss, but I'm running to their rescue. And for me to see him, I know they're looking at him like he was a thug because he had braids. My son was so smart. We used to call him a genius because he was so book smart. And for me to see that video and to see that I know Jarveon, anybody that really knows Jarveon, his teachers, his college professors, they know Jarveon. Jarveon wanted to get to me. I know that. Jarveon wanted to get home. I know that Jarveon, once he knew that he was in front of that house, he knew that I was going to protect him by any means necessary. Me not to be aggressive or violent, but for me to be there, he would have done whatever they wanted him to do, even if it was to get in the back of their car, because he knew I was there and I was going to help him or take care of him by any means. But seeing that video just broke my heart, because when I saw him leave, I just knew that that was his last moments going down that street. And for me to see him just going so fast and him just wrecking, not having his seatbelt on, and as a mom, I'm just feeling like that he's just hurt and he's in that car by himself. And I just wanted to be there.
My last question. So now that you guys have seen the body cam footage, the dash cam footage, there are still questions that you have.
Yes.
Obviously, why exactly was he pulled over during this traffic stop? But where do you go from here?
We fight. We fight for justice.
That's right.
What are the next steps in terms of speaking with the DA's office? Just what's after this?
Well, I'll say this and then I'll let Charlotte try to address your question if she can. You know, if this was your child, what would you want? Sheriff Bond, if this was your child, what would you want?
That's right.
You would want accountability.
That's right.
That's all Charlotte wants. She wants what any other parent would want in a situation where your child was unnecessarily and unjustifiably and senselessly killed by the trained professional, allegedly, that was supposed to protect and serve him. I mean, we just want what any other parent wants. How they treat white citizens, that's what we want. We can show you 1,000 videos of where white citizens did far worse. And the police never jumped in the vehicle with both feet. But in this scenario, the police jumps in the video with both feet on the driver's side. When we, you know, it's like Charlotte said, when you heard them say, oh, he drugged him to death, it conjured up a way different picture in your mind versus that dash cam video where you see him jumping both feet into a fleeting car. And like we said when we started the press conference, not only does it defy police training, it just defies all common sense. And so what do we want? What are the next steps? To demand accountability. The authorities, the elected leadership need to lead. And whatever you would do if the roles were reversed, we want you to do equal justice. Don't have two justice systems in America.
That's right.
Let's have equal justice for all citizens, for Javion and for Courtney.
That's right.
And for all of our young brothers who have been killed in Memphis. What is it, Kareem, in the last year? It's been 6, 7? I mean, it's unbelievable. And if we don't use these as teachable moments, how many more months we have, Judge Doyce, in this year of 2023? I mean, if it keep going at the rate it's going, we'll have over 10 young, unarmed black people killed at the hands of law enforcement in Shelby County. I mean, these have to be teachable moments.
Right.
And it's not for political gamesmanship or anything. We don't care about no politics. It is about our children being able to get home safe.
Right.
That's all Charlotte wanted. That's all Rovon wanted. That's all Scarlett and Courtney. I mean, how ironic. Tyree is within yards from his home, trying to get home. And now Javion, within yards from his home. Courtney, 1 block from his home. I mean, all these young black people are so close to home. And you know in your heart of hearts, they are just trying to get home because they believe if they can get home, they'll be safe and they won't be killed. And I know our white brothers and sisters, this is something they can't fathom.
That's right.
I mean, white parents can't fathom this, that the police gonna kill your child within blocks from their home.
That's right.
But unfortunately, it is a reality that black parents live with every day of our lives, that our child won't be the next hashtag, won't be the next Trayvon, won't be the next George Floyd, won't be the next Breonna Taylor. I mean, every day of our lives, we pray that it won't happen to our child. So that's why we want transparency. We don't care about no politics. Let's be honest and real that we have a problem going on and we have to try to solve it. Thank you. We'll keep you informed. Yes, sir.
I had a couple of questions.
Last question.
Yeah. So earlier you said that Jarveon had been shot in the lungs and heart, and I just wanted to follow up and see, was that from the medical examiner report, an independent report?
The independent report.
All right.
Is that it? Okay, thank you all. We will keep you updated. The name? Yes, sir. If you can say and spell your name, Scarlett. Take it.
Scarlett Pickens, Scarlett. P is in Peter, ICKENS.
Mr. Courtney.
Courtney Allen, Courtney, Allen, Allen.
Thank you all.